Okay, so I thought I'd do a little bit of a video because it's about 1 hour before I'm getting all my hair cut off. Now, I've had this hair this length for I don't even know. I can't even remember that far back. Anyway, I kind of wanted to like take this moment to say goodbye, but also like talk a little bit about why. So as you probably know, last month, I came out as non-binary, which was great for the first 24 hours, and then Graham Linnham decided to send a dog pile against me, so that was sort of fun. It was actually not that bad, because honestly it just makes me realise why we shouldn't listen to people who are so concerned with something that literally has zero effect on their lives, but whatever, fine. I did write something about how I came to be, or how I began to understand myself as non-binary. I didn't really feel at the right time whilst I was being attacked online, so I didn't kind of post it up. But I sort of feel like maybe now is kind of the right time because a little bit of time has passed, and this feels like a sort of cathartic moment. I feel like the hair, and let me explain, is kind of a bit of a symbol in a way, and why I mean that is, I think one of the things that happens when you come out, well, I think with like any version of coming out or whatever, is suddenly you sort of look at your life and everything that didn't make sense before suddenly makes sense. And I'm now looking back sort of through this like NB lens and being like, oh yeah, that makes loads of sense. And I really feel like the hair is probably the most obvious one out of all of these. I was never really comfortable femme presenting, like at all. Maybe I'll go a bit more into detail into that in like another time. But never really that comfortable with it. It was always an absolute struggle, like tormenty struggle for me. Obviously now there are bits of it I think I like. I don't know. I might have just brainwashed myself into liking them. I'm not sure. These are things to unpack. But I really struggled with it. And I came to sort of like some sort of common ground about it, I guess. Thinking back, I always found the hair kind of annoying. I know everyone else really likes the hair because it's like really long, and everyone's like, well, really long hair, blah. I was sort of found it a bit annoying. It's nice sometimes to wear it down and you're like, yeah, let me be a little long hair. But other than that, yeah, it's a bit annoying. You have no idea what my Hoover looks like. My bath plugs, there's hair everywhere. It's like a sheen of hair. Even if I clean, I don't know where it comes from, because really I should be bald. The amount that it falls out. Anyway, if I think back, why have I had this hair? Like, why have I just been like, right, I just need to keep this hair, have this hair, don't have anything different? And I think if I look back on it, it was basically, it's like a crutch, right? It's a way that I could wear whatever I want, which is basically non-feminine clothing, or whatever feminine clothing is, and still be femme presenting for work. So like I could wear like skanky old tracksuit bottoms and still be sort of female in a way, if that makes sense. Which is also why I really want to cut it off now. I do like how it looks, don't get me wrong, but also I really feel like it's a freaking crutch, and I really just want to hack it off, because I feel like, okay, so maybe we should sort of get into it like a little bit. I wrote this whole thing, seriously, I wrote this to basically post up when I came out, and then obviously I didn't. I don't know what it is, I don't think I've read it, like what even is it? I might post it up, I need to check it though. Basically, so much of this is to do with my job. When I got my first ever presenting gig, I just used to wear shirts and jeans and t-shirts and jeans and stuff like that, and that was sort of what I wore all the time. And I remember getting the first ever job, which was for this rock music channel, and literally, I mean, I turned up for the audition, I turned up for the interview with nothing on and like some horrible clothes with whatever, and the guy was like, you need to put some makeup on for this audition, and I was like, okay, fine, and did, but still kind of wore whatever clothes. Anyway, basically when I started this job, I was kind of pretty much frog marched. I was told that I can't wear these clothes, and I was like frog marched to like a shop, and I was told to basically dress like a girl, like a woman, and I was like, great, okay, fine. Deeply uncomfortable with the whole of it, but did it because best job in the whole world. Like, I love my job. I loved my job. And I was like, what a great opportunity. It's a compromise. Okay, all right. So I've got to be a bit smarter. But it's not really so much about like being smarter. It was fundamentally changing who I was. But okay, you know, I really like the job. So that kind of happened. And that does really leave an impression on your mind. If there's something you really love doing, to be like, okay, well, to do this, I need to change myself in some way, because ultimately every job involves being changed in some way. But I don't think I realized the difference between this and something else, like just, you know, being professional or wearing a bit of makeup because everyone apparently looks terrible without it. This kind of thing. I'm just getting in all my hair strokes now before this goes. So that kind of really, really stuck with me. And I don't know, just, I've always felt like something's wrong with me. Something about me just doesn't fit like anywhere. Like nothing ever clicks. And I think by this point in my life, it would click. You know, they're like, hey man, you know, like when you get out of your 20s, everything's just gonna like click into place. And I just got more confused the older I got, because I was like, I don't get it. Like everyone else is like, click, click, click. And I'm just like, I used to click together and now I feel really fucking confused. Sorry about the swearing. So I don't know. I never really felt like I clicked. Shall I tell you the moment I knew I was non-binary? So I think for me personally, it's a stupid story and it involves running. For me personally, it feels deeper than just pushing away gender norms and saying I don't agree with this binary in a way. Like for me, it feels there's something deeper than that. I think with me, I'll get into it. So basically, I was running on a treadmill. And blah, 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 parents things, a decade of torment, whatever, right? After basically now, short version, I got to a point in my parents where the worst has kind of happened in a way. And I'm not worrying about it anymore. And weirdly, this is like freed up like mental capacity for me to start thinking about myself. I haven't really thought about myself ages. Don't really like being alone and thinking about things because it would make me sad because of all the things that are going on. Anyway, hold on, I really want to check the audio is working before I get well into this. Hold on. Okay, it's fine. I just had that sudden horrible thought that maybe like my headphones were still connected and I was going to get into like this really long, lengthy thing and then realise nothing went. So I was running on the treadmill. I was thinking to myself, why don't I make sense? I just don't make sense. What is it? Why don't I make sense? Why can't I just find some sort of rhythm that makes sense? Anyway, those kind of things. And I was running on this treadmill and I was thinking to myself, I mean, I'm not very feminine, I don't particularly think. She says with very long hair. I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, maybe I just haven't asked the right questions. You know, sometimes in life you just need to ask yourself the right questions and then the answer clicks and you're like, oh yeah. So I was like, well, maybe I'm not a woman. I've literally never asked myself that question. Maybe that's the answer. So I was running on this treadmill and I'm a big fan of saying things out loud because you always have quite a visceral reaction when you say them. So I was running on a treadmill and I just said out loud to myself, I am a man. And I didn't really feel anything towards that. I was like, well, that didn't suddenly make everything make sense. Okay, I'll just say like, I'm a woman and then see what happens. And, you know, so I said that out loud. And I kind of felt the same, as in like, it just didn't, neither of them felt like me at all. And I think I was actually like a little bit emotional still talking about this, but something about, I felt no anything to it. It was just like dead words to me. And the non-reaction was such a shock that I immediately burst into tears. I was like running on this treadmill and crying. And and then I don't know if you ever like started to cry when you're running, but you sound like you're about to have like a heart attack because you can't breathe properly. You're like, so I was like, okay, I need to like calm down. And I was like, what the hell was that? Like, what the heck just happened? Like, I just burst into tears. Oh, there's like clearly some stuff there. Maybe this is the direction I need to like look in. Okay. So that was kind of like my starting point for like, what the heck is going on? And then so I started thinking about it. I was like, well, if I'm not a man, if I'm not a woman, if I'm not, of course, Sirens classic. I'd really like to move out of this flat. I've been saying that for like 5 years. Anyway, all right, guys, come on. I'm trying to record a really heartfelt video. So I was like, okay, well, let's take that as like a starting point. Like, what does that mean if I feel neither gender, if nothing really makes any sense? And then I started thinking about my life, looking through this lens, and I was like, oh dear God, like everything makes sense. I can tell you a million instances or different things that have happened in my life that suddenly just all kind of click into place. I remember when my mum used to talk about when I was little, and I think from like a really early age, she would try to get me into a dress and I would like scream till I was blue in the face. Like when I was like really small, like was having none of it. So she gave up, she just stopped trying. So I always wore trousers and I always wore things like that. And throughout the whole of my life, I've got 2 older brothers. I was always told, you're a tomboy, it's because you've got brothers, that's why you're like that. And then I look at everyone, I started to think like, well, I haven't lived with my family for a really long time. And like, I'm an adult now. I'm pretty sure my brothers aren't influencing me anymore. But then if that was the case of like brothers being around is somehow like a virus that turns you like a boy, why the hell isn't everyone else I know more like a boy? I've got plenty of friends who had brothers. I've got plenty of friends who, like even like my nieces and nephews, like they're really girly and they're around brothers and you know what I mean? Like that's not the answer. That doesn't necessarily make sense. So I was like, that doesn't really necessarily make sense. I remember having this conversation one time with a friend online, and I've never really liked having kind of sexualized images of myself. Kind of find the male gaze in that way when they look at me that like quite abhorrent. I don't like it particularly. I don't mind from people I'm into, cool, great, but like from randos, no, like it's just, so I've always kind of made a point of not making, I never really wanted to put up like sexualized images of myself. That doesn't interest me like in any way. And then I was having a conversation with like a friend, and I was talking about like, I don't like showing cleavage, I don't like doing any of that. And my friend was basically saying like, oh, but you shouldn't be ashamed to do that, and like screw the male gaze, and like who cares, blah, blah, blah. But I think now when I think about it, I don't like that. I just don't like that bit of me being out there because it doesn't feel like me. Like, I actually quite, I don't know. I like boobs on other people, they're great, but on me, I'm like, not really that into it. Not really my thing. So I was like, well, okay, well, there's obviously some weird like body stuff there. So I think there's also some other kind of biological stuff as well, which is that my period stopped for like a really long time. I don't know whether it could be to do with training or it could just be to do with stress. I don't know. There's lots of reasons why these things can sort of happen. But basically they did like tests on me to find out like what my estrogen levels were and were they at a healthy level, because you've got to be careful if you're a female because of osteoporosis. It can be a real problem. My mum has it, so like the likelihood is I could potentially get it. So they have to be really careful about like what my hormones are doing basically. And I went to go and see this doctor, and they were just like, it's like you have like the lowest amount of estrogen in your system like ever. Because I was like really worried. I was like, oh my God, sometimes people get early onset like menopause and things like that, and they're like, it's not that, it's just that you don't have any estrogen. It's like someone went like, and like that's the amount of estrogen in my system. So I ended up having to take like estrogen because I just didn't have enough like in my body at all to like be normal. So I think about that as well, and I'm like, well, maybe that also has something to do with it. I don't know. It's like there's lots of these things that sort of seem to come together that make sense in a way. Being non-binary is like quite an umbrella term, and there's lots of kind of different facets and elements of that and where people can kind of fit within that. I mean, I do think gender construct is nonsense anyway for everybody. It's just, we're talking about gender here. We're not talking about like sex. We're talking about gender, which is different things. Gender's the construct, sex is the biology, right? And yeah, I do think most of those kind of like gender roles are complete nonsense anyway. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this really means for me to be non-binary, and I don't know where this is gonna sort of take me. I'm really not sure. But because I've now kind of feel like I can look down this avenue and figure things out from within this kind of perspective, which makes so much more sense to me. Like I bought a binder the other day, so I was like, well, I think it's important to like, you don't really know how you feel about something or what is right sometimes until you just kind of try these things out and change yourself and see what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And, you know, having a binder, I still haven't tried it because it's been so hot recently. I was like, don't do it. I'm going to get stuck in it like a pretzel because of the sweat. But I don't know. I don't know what it means. I mean, I definitely love much more like when I wear gym stuff and like I wear like a sports bra and it basically just depresses my chest. Like that makes me feel an awful lot better. Like it's just not me. It just doesn't feel like me as a person. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I don't know where or what this means or where or what it's going to kind of take me to, but it is definitely a journey. I'm trying to like do the work and kind of like figure out more about myself, but like, I don't know, like I've spent my whole adult life pretty much since I started doing presenting lying to myself and brainwashing myself to be a certain way just to do something that I deeply love. And I don't regret it, because if I think I'd been who I really am at the start of my career, I wouldn't have had a career. Like I just wouldn't have. Things were really so much different back then. And you know, maybe now that I'm in a good place, I can be more free and I won't get fired or discriminated against, but who knows? You know, there's so many fun ways you can, I mean, you technically don't get fired, people just don't hire you again for jobs. I sort of wanted to put out all this stuff like at the time, but it just, there was so much to kind of take on board and work was so hectic that it just felt like a lot all at once, which is why sort of now I feel a bit better about kind of talking about all of this. But I don't know, look, I just kind of wanted to talk about how I kind of got to where I am, and I know that a lot of people out there feel the same, or you know, maybe you're struggling with stuff or kind of finding out where they fit, because yeah, I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe it's taken me so long to kind of figure it out. But you know, it's been a difficult decade. I'm not gonna lie, it's been really hard. But I'm sort of glad that I'm at that point now where, I mean, what would be great is moving out from the siren flat. It's only maybe like 40 minutes before it's all getting cut off. It's gonna be so weird. So weird. God, can you imagine? Sometimes I've been doing that in the mirror for about a year. But now it's going to be true. I won't be able to do that anymore though. Or have a scarf. That will no longer be a thing. So chic. So affordable. Yeah, look, it's just annoying. Too much hair. Anyway. Blah, blah, blah. The end, I guess. You ready? Oh my god.